So today is going to be about introducing what Meiro Engage is and explaining it in a context of our company's products and what does this look like going forward and what does the future look like. And naturally, one big topic is everything these days. If you if you look into your fridge, some sort of AI agent jumps out at you, and this is the big topic that everyone is talking about. Whether this is right now a reality and mass scale deployed use cases, or whether we are still living in LinkedIn headlines about dying websites and whatnot, and agents shopping and technical people pretending these solutions are simple, or whether we are in reality where common marketers can really launch something agentic at scale, or just learn how to talk to their systems in a different way. That's a really big question. I think we are going to be on a learning curve and adoption curve for a while, and as always, humans, we move a lot slower than the technology. For Meiro, this has been really, we joke internally, I think, like everyone, that last 6 months have been the fastest 5 years of my life. Uh, Things are moving incredibly fast. I think we've been very good at adopting AI internally, and we've increased the velocity, especially in product development and content development in last few weeks, so dramatically that it's really exciting to see, and it's really showing in product. And today we will show you that. So I'll try to answer here a couple of big questions, or try to ask them, and maybe have some Karel to add some color to this later. So what does engage, or what does Meiro Engage mean, especially in the CDP context? Because how customers would understand us, and today there's a mix of customers, partners, also some probably new faces on the live stream today. So you've known Meiro as a CDP company forever. We've been developing this product for almost 10 years. So we had a loyal customer going 7-8 years back. We serve everything from regulated industries with on-premises requirements, as well as modern, sleek retail and e-commerce customers across the regions, all the way from Australia to UK. So Meiro CDP has always been understood as a single profile of a customer identity management, and audience creation and segmentation. We've always had the mission over the last kind of few years more formalized that we need to move into where the value is created with our clients, which is the activation. Simple reality of this always has been that you don't really get extra credits and extra points for beautiful and very well curated audiences. The credit always gets whoever brings the conversion, and whether that's an advertising campaign or an email service provider or some sort of messaging system, that's always where the credit is going to go to. So we've also seen that kind of makes sense to build this out from the data to the activation, and that's always where we have gone. So the way to think about Meiro Engage is simply to think about it as a Meiro 2.0, and this is the next generation of our product. We have, however, brought to the market sort of three distinct packages, and some of it is brand new. Last few months, you've heard us talking about Meiro Pipes, which for better categorization in category is CDI, so customer data infrastructure. So typically a tool that product team, engineering team would reach out for when they need to stream their data from behavioral systems, typically mobile apps, websites, into some sort of destinations where they need to send things. Usually three areas: enrichment of data warehouse, so data storage, and then processing, product analytics. We have customers using anything from Mixpanel, Adobe Analytics, Amplitude, also mobile measurement platforms like Adjust and Branch, AppsFlyer, and very very popularly also conversion APIs for growth and ad spend heavy organizations, because obviously Meta and Google never have enough signals to evaluate and optimize your campaigns on an ongoing basis. So that's Meiro pipes really specifically for the kind of the data collection, data streaming functionality. The core of everything always has been the classic CDP. So we call this packaging now Meiro Audiences, which is simply the segmentation and the customer identity that would sit on top of the behavioral data coming out of pipes. The big flare right now is that we have kind of expanded the way we can deliver this to clients, to support and kind of make a commitment that we support all models, all major models, which would be package CDP. So we bring our own memory like we always have. So it's built in. You don't have to worry about anything, and it's really economic. Or we can house Meiro Audiences on top of your data warehouse, so the data doesn't ever leave it. If you have a big, Snowflake, BigQuery, or any other data warehouse, Databricks or Microsoft Fabric team, curating data in the data warehouse, it just makes sense to have Meiro Audiences as an activation layer of your existing data warehouse. And Meiro pipes can or doesn't have to bring the behavioral data into it as well. So it's a perfect kind of symbiosis around the data warehouse as well, which is a new in our offering. And ultimately, right now, we'll be talking to you about Meiro Engage, which is really the, for the lack of a better term of category, or customer engagement platform, or CEP, or marketing automation, where we simply want the seamless activation of this neat, organized, rich identities of customers and segments, all the way into personalized journeys across channel, because we kind of see the massive simplicity that this brings if we don't have to integrate another CDP with another marketing automation tool. So this is really where we kind of see customers to get the value most immediately. So that's how to think about Meiro Engage in the context of kind of existing products and existing customers. The really big word of the day naturally can't be anything else than agentic. So we have the advantage here, I think, to reflect on it from two perspectives. So when AI really became a thing a couple of years ago, I think every incumbent software vendor rushed into delivering something. And it was usually a chatbot that got kind of sewn onto the product in a way that it could do some sort of party trick, like you can ask your data something and it could really basically read from a dashboard for you, right? So kind of a semantic layer or over a very, very limited data set. And the simple learning is that you can't really build agentic capability on an old platform and on an old product. And older it is, the more rigid it is in terms of architecture. And that's been the learning. And I think right now, when you look at modern AI first products and kind of compare it with the demos of last year, it just all looks like a science fair in a third grade, where kids are presenting the paper mache projects, right? So that's I think that's how it feels 1 year later. The one thing that we have done differently here, we've kind of went fully invested into the agentic space, and we have basically committed to building a brand new version of our product in the most I would say modern standards, accommodating and opening up to the agentic use cases. So we see this in two ways. What does make it agentic? So first, naturally, it has to be open by design. So you're going to have more and more systems to be talking to each other. There's going to be interfaces like CLI, MCP, naturally standard RESTful APIs. So anyone or anything or any system or any agent can at any point in time, or of course secure way, go and talk to your customer data so they can enrich a particular experience, whether that happens online, offline, or in whatever touch point, right? So this has to be this kind of real-time repository of the structured data, and naturally the data quality is going to be the foundation of how well all of your agentic use cases are going to be. So this is I think the ground floor here that we are building. The second layer and how we are thinking about it is that we have realized that when we have built an autonomous agents within the system, within Engage, within Pipes, we have realized that we have basically built in completely informed, most educated colleague we have ever had. And the great thing about it, it's not just a better Q&A, it's a proactive entity being, really, where when we kind of started working with this, we realized and experienced interesting things. People are really no longer using UI of a product; they are just talking to our agent to get things done, which is as close to magic as the software can ever get. If you reflect on last 10 years of tools you've been using, so this is really interesting. And so, kind of the way we are seeing it is that every single client, every single customer, there's always shortage of people. There's always, we don't have this campaign specialist, therefore we can't do ABC. We don't have a data analyst, therefore we can't build more attributes and then build more use cases and more segments. There's always some kind of bottleneck. This goes away because with Engage right now, you're getting basically a uniform army of people disguised as a chatbot for specific roles with most kind of knowledge that a marketer could ever have. So Carol will demonstrate this later for you. How does this work and how do we think about this? Because we think that this is something that's just going to 10x the time to value on use cases, on how do you want to do things, and importantly, it's going to be a sparring partner in strategies, and it's going to tell you what to do or what are the options of what you could do, which is super exciting once you spend some time with it. So that's really where we think this is going way faster, time to value to campaigns, lot less dependency on technical resources as the marketers, and that's the big upgrade there. Practically, a few more details on what's going to be new in Engage. So if you have used Meiro for customer journeys before, if you kind of use the marketing automation module in our CDP, there's a few things you're going to be getting out of the box here. So much upgraded email editor, something that's been needed and feedback by many clients. SMS channel as a new delivery channel, and we don't really stop there. We're thinking about RCS and other channels in future. Modular surveys, very reusable assets and content management, simplified and user-friendly content management, and what I'm very excited about, goals that will be customized and interpreted for every single business differently. We see that with our customers. Bank has a very different goals than an e-commerce store will have and travel agency does. So this is something that's going to help you measure specifically your own business objectives, and again, in future, optimize against those. We have a really ambitious roadmap as well. So a couple things we are going to be doing, and you will be seeing in a rest of the year coming out. More mobile engagement formats, stories, in-app messages, things like that. A lot more modern approach to reporting, where you can build things on the fly directly within the product. Recommendation engines and premium algorithms, so these things don't really have to get developed from the scratch anymore again. So there's going to be a layer of this in the product. We are also experimenting with AI profile enrichment. So the attributes, rather than identifying and defining them and calculating them individually, can be fully done in AI, and lots more other things which simply we just deliver at much higher velocity right now. So I'm excited about bringing these to you soon. That's kind of just to give you a bit of a run through of how we landed here. I'm going to hand this over to Karel right now. So Karel, I'll give you the screen, and I'm wondering whether we have anything in the live chat worth answering right now. I think not. So Carla, let me stop sharing. Over to you, and take us through Engage.
Okay, thank you for setting up the scene and the excitement about Engage as a tool. And we will start with the demo instance that we had prepared. And as Pavel mentioned, the system is fully agentic, and it feels like really having a new colleague in the team, or even several new colleagues in the team, in a form of the AI assistant. And right at the homepage, we have this Ask Any Question. I was just wondering in the meanwhile if we could ask about any marketing jokes, but yeah, we'll leave that aside and we will talk to the system to really achieve something useful. So basically, there are still two ways how to work with Meiro Engage, and you can use it fully manually as the any old-time CDP or marketing automation platform. And we can, of course, define audiences. We can define real-time audience or data warehouse audience or combine them together. We can build complex activation scenarios through journeys. As Pavel mentioned, we can also create reusable content through our asset library, connect any product feed through catalogs, or create surveys, and obviously create any campaign in activation channels. And you can see we have native email, SMS messages, WhatsApp, mobile push notification, and web banners. And in the old days, I could end up just here because the rest would be just, showing the features and, the playbook. However, the other way how to work with the Meiro Engage is through the AI assistant. The AI assistant is called Piper, and actually the name is taken from Meiro Pipe, so maybe here it should be Meiro Engager. Uh, no, not a good idea. We might actually ask you to name the AI assistant for Meiro Engage and come up with a proper name. Anyway, it says, "Hi, I'm Piper, and I'm here to assist you with just anything." And you can see right at the bottom, it already suggests something like very basic tasks it could do. Find a customer profile, plan a journey, browse a catalog, or set up an email channel. Those would be really basic tasks, and we want to actually try Piper with something a little bit more advanced. And I will not be specific with what I will ask Piper. So I will just ask it to set up a meaningful audience based on recent data and profiles. So basically, I'm giving the Piper a quite complex task because it really needs to go into the available data, into the available event types, look into available attributes, and suggest a meaningful audience based on that. Mind you, Piper, in my instance, already has pretty good context of what we have been working on previously. So it knows the company, it knows the audience a little bit, and this really helps to create the outputs or to produce the outputs that are right in the context. So now it actually suggests platinum loyalists, lapsed repeated buyers, and high intent browsers. That really makes sense because this instance is actually connected to a website that is your typical e-commerce project or an e-shop, right? So in that context, those kinds of audiences really make sense, and it would be a typical playbook that we would very often see on e-commerce projects. Now, we can ask it to create the high intent browsers audience, and we can actually follow Piper to see what it is doing. So it will create an audience. It suggests the definition, including one condition and one condition for exclusion. And as you can see, it's actually very cautious and very, I would say, nice that it actually asks me for my approval. I need to accept this kind of audience, and we still keep the person in the middle of the AI craziness. Now, as we are following Piper, we can see it set up the audience of high intent browsers. We can already see that unfortunately in our demo case, the audience size is 0. However, we have 1057 profiles in total, and the insights of the audience are immediately analyzing 120 dimensions. Let's have a look at the conditions that it actually selected to define the audience. Product view behavior needs to be in its count greater than 5, and the last checkout started exists. So those profiles would be excluded, saying that it included all the profiles with their browsing history greater than 5 occurrences without any active checkout. That's actually excellent audience, and yeah, I would probably think about it myself and could create it manually. But as you can see, we can simply ask the AI assistant to do it for us. Now, with each action that the AI assistant performs, it comes up with the suggestions for follow-ups. And the follow-ups could be like start retargeting journey, send an email campaign, synchronize immediately the profiles to destinations, or simply calculate the size of the audience again. If we actually ask Piper now to start a retargeting journey, to start the journey and to create it successfully, again, is not a simple task. It is actually a complete set of tasks, because what do we need for the journey? We need the scenario itself, we need the triggers, and we need the template and the campaigns. If I instruct now Piper to start the retargeting journey, it will perform all those required tasks in sequence. So it will create the journey for us. You can see it's asking again for approval for each individual step. And as we are still following Piper, we can see what it is actually doing. So now it has created high intent browser retargeting journey. We'll see if it will populate it with proper nodes, and hopefully it will go all the way to create corresponding templates and other assets that are needed for completing the journey. With creating the templates, again, Piper, as our AI assistant, has the full context of the company. And we had previously created several templates for emails. Those templates follow a corporate identity, visual style, tone of voice, and so on. So really full corporate identity. And Piper is very well aware of it. So any template that it will create in the future will keep the styling, the design, and it will use the reusable components that we are storing in the content library. So, as I was talking, the AI assistant, our lovely Piper, had fully created high intent browser retargeting journey. We can see that the journey is triggered by a event. The event is viewing the item. Then it's suggested to wait for 2 hours and send abandoned cart reminder. Hmm. I would probably do it a little bit different, but it's pretty good on the first take. And the important result for me is that it had really created the full journey and it suggested a pretty meaningful logic behind it. Okay. Now, with the journeys, with the content, and with the channels, we can set up any kind of email template. And as Pavel mentioned in his introduction, any kind of activation works in more details than in our previous product with detailed consents. So we can define what consent, what level of consent is needed for specific email campaigns or for the global settings of the email channel or any other channel. And we can also define suppression attributes. So we can simply say or define rules that will help us to temporarily or permanently suppress individual profiles from the activation across the channel for individual channel and so on. So what is important for me is that now Meiro Engage together with Meiro Pipes and the profiles and all those processes is not simply a marketing automation for like sending out the messages, but it can also work very well as a eligibility and decision engine together with fully exposed or let's say fully open profile APIs. I know it's a bit technical. We are now in very visual part of the tool, but I think it's very important to mention that in Meiro Pipes and Meiro Engage, it is now super easy and fully configurable to set up profile APIs and make it available for any connected application within your ecosystem. So very easily you can use Meiro CDP as your profile data store, as your identity resolution service, and use that data for decisioning, use it for eligibility rules and so on. So very important to know this as well. And of course, when we connect it with the consents, you get full data set that allows you to communicate in very personalized way in real time to any type of a client through any channel, communication channel. All right. I've been talking a lot. Pavle, any questions or anything I should add here?
No, I think this is thorough, Carla. I have a maybe one question when because you were one of the first people who ever started working with Piper, right? What was the thing that surprised you the most in how does it behave?
Mm, mm. Yeah, first, um, I was closed in the mindset of the AI assistants that are sort of built on the top of the previously existing tool. And those are usually very limited. So the typical task would be something like I had created an email template in English and the AI assistant will translate it for me into Arabic or into
Mm.
Czech or whatever the language, or it will prepare, another version of the copywriting in English. And I was like, yeah, okay, that's pretty cool, but yeah, I can actually do that through ChatGPT and copy paste it, so I don't see the value. Then I started working with Piper, and I was like, okay, this is something completely different. And it really is like having a meteor or almost senior member of the team available with whom I can talk and sometimes fight and sometimes quarrel, but it's actually very useful to have someone, almost a person, available in the tool. And to be honest, I use Piper a lot for discussing what could be the next action for the marketing campaigns, what kind of campaign I could create, what asset would be, appropriate for targeting a specific audience, or what journey can we create. And the suggestions are usually very useful. Sometimes it's a bit off, but we cannot blame it purely on the AI assistant, because obviously it is living in the box and it may not be aware of all the context of the company that we are working for and so on. But it's very useful. So
No,
I was
totally.
really surprised with the extent of what Piper or the AI assistant could do, and also with the complexity of tasks that I can shoot at Piper at once. And it's not limited to simple tasks such as set up an audience of profiles who previously purchased whatever, and now they had been dormant for past 6 months, right? I can really take a complete playbook, like I want to target abandoned baskets with multi-channel campaigns. Just a playbook like that. Throw it at Piper and it will create multi-channel campaigns, including the templates, including new attributes if it needs to, audiences, and so on. So really, it's like having another person, or even few people now in the team, and talking to them, consulting really the marketing strategy with them, and then also delegating the tasks to set up whatever is needed.
Yeah, I think for me this is exciting because I think it has a business implication in a sense that historically, and we have started like this, especially with the larger customers. It's always been that there's a cost in technology investment, right? And there's a similar size ticket investment in the implementation and kind of the whole initial stage setup, and it really depends on how large the companies are. I think every software vendor in their presentations tell you that they can start next day, and use cases are live by end of the week, and no dependency on anyone, which is never really the case. And we have seen kind of cases ranging from where the small leaner customers would be able to see use cases within 4 weeks, which is great because it starts making money right back, right? But also we would have seen customers where the implementations would take almost a year because they are very, very large corporate with very stringent rules and security protocols for everything, right? So even just installation would be taking a while. So that's something that I kind of I'm really excited by the time to value here. So the whole idea of, say, I'm this type of a business, this is my website, what type of events should I be tracking? Piper will tell you. You go copy paste them, you implement them. Now you have the events. Say, Piper, what type of attributes should I be creating and calculating about the customer profiles, and what use cases should I be thinking of? And it's going to tell you because it has the knowledge of kind of every single consultant in our business combined, right? So we have seen customers from 20 different industries, and real estate to e-commerce. There's something in common, but there's also a lot of specificity. So we spent few recent onboarded customers are in travel space, and that's the whole, how is the deal constructed is very, very different than how it is for e-commerce, where it's just a line item in a product suite, right? So here a deal is a combination of flight and extras, insurances, seats, half board breakfast, and room with view with a balcony, how many people, kids, and all of that, packages for entertainment. Like it's really, really different story, and you need to have a technology that's able to not just accommodate for that, but also to leverage those specificities, right? So that's something that Piper just has and is able to kind of help and guide you. But it's able to help and guide you in matter of kind of a minutes and hours, as compared to days and weeks and sprints in traditional sense. So I think one thing that this is going to do is this is going to make CDP like technology, or this kind of modern agentic CDP, available for much more broader deeper set of companies that historically would probably have told us, well, we don't have the kind of money for an implementation, or we don't have the team to use this, because right now you're going to need one manager here, not really an execution person. But that's where this is going. So this is really exciting. So Carla, let's go to a couple of questions from the chat, right? So I'll take them from the top. So first question: can a profile enter the journey more than once before finishing the journey? Is there ability to prohibit or enable a re-entry, basically?
Yes, it's definitely a setting that has been added to journey setup. So when we have a look at the journey setup, we can see that there is possibility to define exit criteria for the journey, exit reason, and also max active entries per profile, right? We can also set up a cooldown for the journey. So it depends exactly on what we want to achieve. And also there is a new thing with versioning of the journeys. So you can run the journey in, let's say, version 1. And then if you change anything, it will automatically create new version. And then it is possible to actually have the old version with the profiles that might still be in the previous version running. And then on the top of that, the new version with newly entering profiles. I hope it's not too complex, but the answer to the original question was yes, you can configure the behavior of re-entry of the profiles into the journey. You can limit it up to like in the details to one only or multiple, and with the multiple entries you can say what is the cooldown period between those entries.
Thank you, Carla. Next question from Noel here. We mentioned profile APIs. What's profile data store? Profile resolution, what is it, and how could be used for? So I think maybe worthwhile kind of doing a quick 1 minute primer on identity resolution and what does it do, and then how do we retrieve profiles, and what system can retrieve profiles, and what are the use cases around this?
Excellent question. I really love it. It brings my nerdy part of my personality alive. So identity resolution. Identity resolution has really been the key feature of Meiro CDP since ever. And the identity resolution is defined as basically connecting the data events coming in through different event types. And we are defining what are the identifiers that can be part of the payload of those data events. And as you can see here, the rules will create a identity graph. So we can see that, for example, from Web SDK, we are receiving multiple event types. Those would be the event types here, not that important right now. And those event types can receive or can carry those individual identifiers like user ID, browser ID, mobile user ID, email, and so on. And when I highlight one of those identifiers, such as phone number, we can see that this identifier can also be present in CRM event types or within system channel events. And this is just for this particular instance. So if we have more data sources, we would be looking for those identifiers across all those data sources. The identity resolution can be configured in a lot of details. We can limit number of identifiers per profile, we can set up their priority, and so on. Now, once the profile is established or we set up the rules to actually create the profiles, we can define attributes. And attributes really help us to describe the profile, describe the entity of the client, customer, user, whomever, with a lot of details. Again, those attributes can really be of any kind. They can be fully configured and they can contain multiple dimensions, such as when we create a survey attribute, which is actually created automatically when we set up a survey. It has multiple dimensions such as response, timestamp, and so on. Now we have profiles, we have their attributive description, and now through Profile API, we can make that available through to third-party applications. And Profile API is really easy to configure. We can set up new endpoint. In this case, the endpoint is web perso for website personalization. And we can actually configure what kind of identifier types will be used by the third-party application to tell CDP which profile it is looking for. So just imagine the situation that a person arrives to your website and your website might send a user ID or their email or phone or whatever the ID would be to CDP to Profile API, and the API will say, all right, I know this user, I have seen this user ID before, and it will return all those attributes that you can actually define. You can select which profile attributes will be available, and it's up to the third-party application, in this case, the website, on how it will use it for personalization. So we can define which data will be exported, what will be the identifier for selecting the profiles, and great advantage is that you can create multiple endpoints and choose different data sets for each endpoint within the Profile API. So simply put, you can have different endpoints for your website, different one for mobile applications, CRM, and whatnot.
So, Carla, if I can just maybe add on to this. No, so the way to think about the API use cases is headless activation. So this typically means that we have two systems talking to each other. We have something that renders content, does any kind of messaging towards the customer. Think of it as a website. Think of it as a simple e-commerce website. One of my favorite use cases. One of our beauty and pharmaceutical clients. They have a product grid. They have something like 400 categories on their website, and every time you enter the one category, you kind of see this classic 4 by infinity product grid. And what happens in the background, the user obviously doesn't have even a chance to notice this. There's an API call with every load of any one category that asks Meiro, do you have for this profile some ID, recommended product that you have calculated. That's an attribute that Meiro would calculate based on past behavior of that user, visitor, shopper, different level of personalization. And we just return back a list of 10 SKUs. And we let the website to render this, filter this out further. And this is a highly scalable use case. So we have customers who are hitting us every second with hundreds of requests like that. So this is really highly scalable. And I think this is, if you think about it, this is potentially more scalable than any marketing automation one person can do, because you can only send as many emails to one person, right? So this is infinitely more scalable than a traditional direct marketing. So this is really one of the almost a set of use cases, a lot more back end integration type. So hope that helps. And if you have any questions, obviously chat to us more. Second question comes from Anjita, is about how do we evaluate performance of each audience is created as an impact of the treatment of them, so email notifications and so on. And if you already have your own CRM tools to blast email, push, and notifications. So this is absolutely common. So the way we have always operated with customers was that we are not saying you absolutely need to use Meiro in one box. We just think it would be much simpler for you to unify this in at some point in future, simply for the simplicity of using it and kind of closing the loop on all of the data, because maybe we right now don't see every single level of detail of every every single email you send to every single person, you have to integrate it as a source back to CDP for us to see this. So I would say this would be answered by a bespoke reporting and attribution. Naturally, the gap that's there is that we don't have the data about the campaigns we as Meiro are sending, so we need to import these as a source. So there's a little bit of work to be done here. Piper will play a role here that maybe it will interpret it for you. I don't think it will massively help with any of the policing. But one of the things that I think I can mention that we are going to be doing here, and this is more geared towards kind of a one-time activation use cases, which typically means like customer wants to send a couple of messages to one segment around let's say new product launch. So they're going to have 2 emails and 2 SMSs. Both come from different systems. So the workflow is going to be like you are going to define a segment in the CDP. You're going to be able to check what that segment is similar to. So what Karel has on the screen right now is a segment overlap, very frequently requested feature from us, and something we are finally excited to deliver. So we can show you that you have built a segment, but it's actually very similar to something else you already have. So maybe you want to do some other changes. Maybe you don't even need this. You can use the other one, and so on. So this is going to be important for kind of navigation. One of the things that we are going to be doing is there's going to be allowed snapshotting of segments. So the problem with segments is that they are not static, right? Because CDP has a real-time data. If you would have a segment built around, for example, website visits, and you would have a filter on people who have been on my website in last 30 minutes, naturally that segment would completely change every single half an hour, right? So we completely different people in there. So it's not one segment. It's not a kind of the more classical high-level marketing type of a persona segmentation where I'm the same persona for the life basically. So the segments here are dynamic, which is kind of the complexity and the challenge here. So what we will be allowing you to do is when you look at segments and you can look at the attributes that are calculated across these segments. So for example, you're going to have, you currently have this in the current version of CDP, you have the insights of segment, right? So if you imagine you have a segment that has insights that are something commercial, so total lifetime value of a customer's, complete total revenue, and average order value. So you're going to have one value at the moment of creating and exporting the segment. And provided this segment is going to be static, we are going to take a read of that segment. We're going to freeze the people that were in that segment, create kind of a specific group from them, tagged, and we are going to be coming back in 1, 3, 7, 10 days, and we are going to be rerunning those numbers. So we'll be able to say, well, on day 1, you have exported this segment to Facebook, so you presumably run a campaign on it, and if you have done so, right now that segment has average value order that has increased and total value of revenue that has increased by this much. So that's one thing I'm really excited about, specifically from advertising and external use cases perspective. I would of course, much easier suggestion here would be, well, bring your emails to Meiro, at least the ones that get triggered by Meiro. I don't think it's not uncommon that companies use 2 email providers for different departments or for different use cases. So, keep your current ESP for newsletters, but if you want to be doing dynamic content and highly segmented content, bring another email domain to Meiro and start sending emails from here. It's going to be much more integrated experience for you and full personalization of that content. But we will have an answer for you even in this case. I think there's going to be also a question here on what does this mean for our customers, and where is something going to happen to their instances who are on the kind of original CDP version. So we are already, good news is that we are already rolling this out to customers, to kind of selected clients where we are migrating and upgrading. We are treating this as a generational upgrade, so this doesn't necessarily change your licensing. but there is some overhead involved in the re-implementations if there are changes, as customers typically request that as well. This is going to be coming to all customers over the course of next 6 months. We are, however, of course, going to be supporting the version 1 for customers who do not necessarily move so fast on changes like this, and to probably migration projects needs to be planned 1 or 2 years in advance. So the support of the version 1 isn't currently going anywhere. Of course, we continue this. At the same time, customers who are keen to move, we are making a plan, and we will be talking to you in the next coming weeks and about timelines and resources required to do this and planning. But very excited to have customers on board, and very much looking for feedback. If any one of you here, existing customers, would like access to maybe a sandbox, would help us to be a beta tester of this early version, naturally reach out, and we can also accommodate that. So that's a typical question that we've gotten in the live event. So I'm answering this preemptively as well here. If there are any other questions, do let us know. We are running up on the top of the hour. Carle, any last insights, last important things to mention?
Goals. We forgot about goals.
It's all about the goals.
I always do. Yeah, so the goals, it actually answers some of the previous questions. And now what is important is like to always follow the money. So within the marketing automation systems, it might be quite difficult or quite complex to actually set up any kind of attribution of the revenue to specific campaigns and so on. In Meiro Engage, it is possible to create or set up your own conversion goals. And for this instance, we had created complete purchase and newsletter sign up. When we create a goal, it is actually connected to an event type. So any event type that is your conversion action or connected to the conversion action can be used. And we can even define whether we want to count every event for the profile or only the first conversion per profile. And we can also calculate the value. So if the event, for example, a purchase event, carries the, let's say, overall value of the basket of the cart, then we can immediately calculate it here and get you the revenue to those specific goals. And now those goals are defined globally, while you can also assign them to audiences. So as I was looking at one of the audiences here, like the high intent browsers, I don't have any profiles in this one. Let me choose different one. So recent category browsers, you can see that I can assign or analyze the number of profiles that are counting into those conversion goals. And immediately it propagates to the insights for this audience or for this segment. And I can see what kind of profiles we have in the segment, how many of those are actually hitting the conversion goals, and in this case, what is the overall value of that conversion in euros. The same thing can actually be done for the activation campaigns. So let's say that I want to connect this high intent browser recovery that we had defined previously with a specific goal. So high intent browser means that I want them to complete the purchases. Let's make it a primary goal, save it, and immediately I have this available and ready for analysis. And when I send out this campaign, it will start counting how many profiles that were part of this campaign actually reached all the way to the conversion goal. Now, I find it really nice, really useful, and really exciting because we are now talking about email campaign. However, the conversion goal is actually on the website, right? So immediately on one click, you just create a connection between email campaign and the website. Of course, the attribution is not as simple as that. What about the delayed conversions and so on? We are able to solve it, but this really helps with the first step of the attribution for the conversions.
So I think this is a futuristically speaking, this is the early version of I think a very popular internet meme now, which is the whole Claude, make me $1 million and make no mistakes, right? So this is I think that for marketers. So you know what the goals are, you know what to go for, and you know what to optimize, and Piper will learn that and will help you to leverage the best strategies to do it. So that the idea is this is, you know, there's a whole second brain idea for what AI is, and I think that's just really this is overall our ambition here, is that we want the agentic ecosystem, the Pipers and others within Meiro engage to be the second brain of your marketing, really, if not the only brain. So that's the idea. So Carla, I think we are out of time, just about a minute to go. We still have everyone with us almost, so this is exciting. We hope you guys have liked this. If you, again, want access even into testing, we're opening this for existing customers. We will be talking to you about migrations in the next coming weeks and months. So if this is interesting, chat with your account managers, reach out to any of us. Of course, you have contacts. So do speak to us, and we hope you like this. We'll welcome any feedback. Great to have you here with us today, Carla. Thank you so much for all the sharing today, and everyone have a great rest of the day.